Hey guys, I'm going to do some tutorials with a few different mediums. I'm going to do it in watercolor, a pen, a pencil, and oil pastels. So I'm going to do each medium in a different sphere, just to kind of give you a heads up on, or not a heads up, maybe just like a refresher on what I've already shown you before. So this might be repetitive to some of you, but I also thought since you're home and you don't have me there chirping in your ear, this might just be helpful to see it done, because there's some little tricks to each one of these that I think can be helpful to make your piece look more realistic. And we all know that the goal is to have a full range of values, so I'm showing you how to push your darks and make sure your highlights are there, because if you have more of like a middle value all across the page, it's going to look flat, and we want it to look three-dimensional, the illusion of a three-dimensional object. So I've just simply drawn little spheres, and I'm just going to show you how to do a full range of value within each sphere with each different medium. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with oil pastels first. So the goal here, and I feel like I've told a lot of you this, so sorry if I'm being repetitive, is you want to pick 3 different values. So you want a dark value, and then a mid-tone value, and then a highlight. And so some of my boxes I know are running low on white because that's the one you use a whole lot. So if you don't have a white, you can just find another lighter value. And then a darker value would be like a dark purple or a dark blue. You all know I try to stay away from black as much as possible. Sometimes it's necessary, but sometimes it's just overwhelming and it's just too intense. A dark brown, even a dark red is a dark value. So I think I'm gonna do, I like blues and purple, so I'm gonna use this dark blue. So I have a dark value, a light value, and then my midtone could be anything. So depending on what it is that I'm drawing, let's say I was drawing an apple, I would probably do more reds and oranges and yellows for an apple. For an orange, I would do orange and yellow. For like a cupcake, if I wanted it to be overall like a pinkish color, I would probably pick this as my midtone and then have this as the shadow. Let me think which classes could be potentially using oil pastel. Well, I guess my candy and even my cupcake. So anyways, I'm just gonna get to it and just pick up my own color. So I think I'm gonna do, I like kind of reds and oranges, so I'm going to do more of like a red and orange value scale, which the red and blue tend to make purple, so you'll end up with other colors too. So you can use more than just 3, but I would encourage you to at least have 3. Okay, so the key with oil pastels is to make sure you're leaving your highlighted area white without any value at first. And so I have my light source coming in from the upper right, and then which is going to create a shadow on my lower left, right? So I'm going to come in here with my oil pastel, and I'm just going to start to add some value. And remember that oil pastels, they tend to look really childlike and kind of like crowns in the beginning. And so people get discouraged because they're like, this looks like crud. But if you keep going, you'll see how it starts to all blend together. Okay, I'll try to do this quickly because I know that sitting at home watching videos of me doing this is not your favorite pastime. Also, remember, if you go in a cross contour fashion, what does that do? Creates the illusion of form. Okay, so if I just go straight across like this, it's gonna not have a lot of form. But if you use cross contour lines, kind of go in that direction that you know, that circular motion to create form, I promise it'll change the whole feel of the piece. All right, so this paper has like a really, really intense tooth to it, so it's making a lot of white areas. So if you're using the paper that I'm using, it's going to take a little bit more pressure and a little bit more time going over it. But how do you blend oil pastels? With more oil pastels. So now I'm going to come in with my midtone, and I'm going to try to blend that shadow. And remember, I'm leaving this completely white because that's going to be my highlight. So this is making more of like a brown color, but do you see how it's really kind of blending it all together? So the key is to apply pressure with your shadow and then loosen up as you go up, lighten up, and then you can go back and forth. Man, this paper is really coarse. Also, I've taped my paper so I can't go the directions that I really want to go. I'm not used to being on video, and I've learned that I move my paper a whole lot when I draw. That's because my hands don't go in the right direction sometimes. Another thing with oil pastel, if you go in kind of like a circular motion, like I'm doing right now, it tends to blend also. Okay, so I'm just getting some of that color up in the top. Also, remember, oil pastels tend to look like a painting, and so being neat and specific is not really the goal here. Being expressive and painterly turns out really nice, hence I'm not seeing the lines very well. Okay, so then I'm going to come back and pull in some of my darker shadows. I feel like a pink and blue probably would have been a little prettier, but just going with it. Okay, now the white, your highlight, is going to be, see how it's dirty? One, you could just kind of go with it because it's going to get dirty anyways, or you can just use a paper towel, or at school we use Clorox wipes to kind of clean that off. And then you're using this to literally pull these colors back up into this dark, into this light area. So be careful when you're using this not to pull too much. But to just allow the white to kind of blend. Now, a lot of times students will use this white and go over the entire thing, and it tends to make it look kind of pastel-y, so I would encourage you not to necessarily go over the whole thing with white. Just use it to mix in your midtones with your highlights. And this definitely makes your hands tired, so give yourself time to take breaks. Or maybe my hands are just out of shape. See, I was bringing some of the blue into my midtone. I'm not too worried about it. I don't really care when my colors mix like that. Sometimes it's kind of a nice surprise. But if you're a little bit more OCD than me and it's going to make you crazy, then you'll want to stop and clean your white off as you go. So I'm having to push pretty hard just to get these white areas to blend. Which is kind of annoying, but it's just because I'm using a more coarse paper. So I'm going to blend it down a little bit more, and then I'm going to go back with my midtone. It's just kind of a back and forth game. And see how I'm having to really use that circular motion to blend it. You don't necessarily have to do that if you have a softer paper than I do. You could just kind of go in a more cross contour line direction. See how I'm blending the white so that it doesn't go all the way into my shadows. Because, I mean, unless you're trying to make a pastel piece, but I don't want mine to look very pastel-y. I just want it to look a little bit more normal. Another thing about oil pastels is they will dry. So if I started on a section and then I ran out of time and had to come back to it the next day, you'll find that the pastels have kind of dried and it makes it a little harder to blend. So if I were you, I would try to finish a section at a time, not go like do all your darks and then all your midtones and then all your highlights. Do like a full range of value per section so that you don't have to come back. I feel like I want to ask if you guys have any questions, but you're not with me. Okay, so I'm about happy with this. Once I'm done, I'll step back and kind of look at it, but I'm just making sure that my edges look the way that I want them to. Also with oil pastels, they can tend to get messy on the corners. So like, let's say I was gonna do some sort of background. You just wanna make sure you really go in and blend it and get all those little crown-like marks to blend out. If that makes sense. So let's say I was going to create some sort of like shadow. Sorry, I'm trying to move so that you guys can see. To see how there's these little crusty areas, you're going to want to make sure that you spend some time blending those out. You guys remember from Art 1 my reflective shadow? Or sorry, my reflective highlight? Okay. We'll call it quits on this one. So now I have a full range of value, created the illusion of form, and then obviously we all know that I would go in and do some sort of background. I would never leave my background just a white piece of paper because the whole thing is the painting, and it's unfinished if there's no background. Alright. Actually, hold on. I keep saying that, but I don't feel like I filled this middle section in very well. And it's surprising how much you can tell when there's oil pastel there, even if it's white or not. The way that it dries, you'll be able to see that there's no medium there. Okay, so here is my finished oil pastel. Full range of value all the way from dark, mid-tone, highlight, shadows. I could probably spend some more time cleaning these edges up, but for now I'm going to let you guys go. Okay, email me if you have any questions.